Hey everyone, welcome back to the Unite Students channel. My name is Tati, and today I thought I'd talk about my second year university experience and also some tips about online learning, online lectures, and just that whole learning online situation, because obviously as a lot of students have experienced already, a lot of our learning for the last term had to be switched to online due to everything that's going on. So that is kind of what I'll be doing today. Before I start, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the Unite Students channel so that you don't miss any videos coming up. But yeah, so if you don't already know, I study television and broadcasting, and one of the things I love about the course is that it's a really practical course, really hands-on, and from the go in first year this was really clear. One of the things I realised was going into second year there is a big jump from first year to second year. Not to say that it's impossible, it's very doable obviously because everyone does it, but it is one of those things where you do have to kind of mentally prepare to just have to work a lot harder than you did in first year. I know for a lot of courses the first year grades don't necessarily count towards your overall grade. It's just like the year to bring everyone up to speed, to get everyone to the same level, and then second year is kind of where you start learning a lot more, which is what I found. Whilst saying that, it's so much more rewarding to be learning stuff that you've never even thought of learning before, and to come out on the other side and be like, yeah, got this, now I can move on to third year feeling confident. Another thing that I experienced in second year is that there was a lot more group work for a lot of my projects. Obviously every course is different and you might not have as much group work as I do depending on the type of course you're doing, but with practical courses, stuff like TV, film, you will have to work in a group at some point. Working in groups is one of those things that I find is really important to learn how to do properly, because teamwork is something that you carry throughout your life. You're gonna have to work with people all the time. Sometimes it's just working in groups of 4. I had worked in a group of 15 people, which you can imagine is a struggle in itself, just having to coordinate with 14 other people, let alone getting the work done. Obviously it goes without saying, but another thing that changed was the lecturers that I had. With new units comes new lecturers, and it can be good because you get a new way of teaching. Also vice versa, you might not like the new lecturer's style. I'd say when it comes to having new lecturers, just keep an open mind and just follow their guidance, if that makes sense, because at the end of the day they do know best and they're the ones that will be grading you, so just listen to their advice and try to take everything on board. So yeah, I found that I had completely different lecturers to any of the lecturers that I had in first year, which I personally enjoyed to some extent because it was kind of like a new experience in a whole. It kind of felt like not a different course, but it just felt like I was experiencing everything very differently, which was nice. Well, I'm not sure if this is the same for every other university, but my university changed the way in which we learn. So instead of having 6 units running all at once, we had 3 in the first term and 3 in the second term. So it was just a very different year. Instead of having just exams at the end of the year, I had exams around the December-January period, as well as deadlines and stuff in the May-June period. One thing that I found very different was that in first year, our lecturers and tutors would probably be more persistent in terms of, chasing us and meeting up. And one thing in second year that definitely changed was that, because you have to be a lot more proactive, you have to take things into your own hands. Lecturers and tutors aren't going to chase you. You have to be the one to reach out, to send that email first, to ask to have a meeting if you want to, have those connections. So that's one thing I found. There isn't as much chasing and spoon feeding as such. Obviously we've had a year to settle in. We should already know who it is we should be reaching out to, how to do that. So there is no real need for lecturers to be doing that for us. And in a way that's good because it teaches us to be more independent. I do feel like I grew more independent, more confident over the year. So that's definitely a positive thing. Another thing that changed was we had more flexibility over the units that we did. So for example, I chose a business unit to do alongside the other 5 units that I was doing. So this is a unit run by a completely different school, the School of Business, whilst I go to, the School of Film, Media and Communications. So I think that is a really good thing because we get different skills from different areas. Obviously a lot of other people chose different sorts of things. Depending on what your interests are, that would obviously impact what your choices are in terms of units to choose. Having the ability to choose a unit helped diversify our skill set a lot more. Gave me a sense of just freedom in a way, where I was really in control of my learning. I just feel like I have so many more skills now. I had to do a lot more reading, a lot more writing, learning learning how to correctly reference, how to write essays properly. These are things that you probably wouldn't expect to know having done such a practical course. Having that well-roundedness, I feel like I learned so much from it, so I'm really happy that that was the case. But when it came to my social life, I'd say first year was definitely one of those years where, you know, you have freshers week, you go out a lot, you're socializing a lot more. I'd say second year I definitely didn't do that as much. I already knew what I enjoyed doing, what I didn't enjoy doing, so I didn't really go out as much. I spent more time, you know, going to the cinema and doing stuff like that instead of, you know, going out clubbing. Having first year helps you identify the things that you like doing, the things that you don't like doing, the people you don't like hanging out with, for example. So I just felt a lot more secure in myself and like I knew myself a lot more, which was really good. And coming to the end of the year, a lot of the learning and teaching had to be moved online, you know, because of everything that's going on, which meant with a practical course, a lot of the coursework we had to do and a lot of our assessments couldn't go ahead. So it was kind of a thing where our tutors had to just quickly figure out how we were going to be graded, because normally, you know, 70% of our coursework would be make a TV show, make a film, make this, and that whole aspect was taken away. So in a way, it was just a very, you know, frustrating end, but at the end of the day, we can only do the best we can with what we're given. So it was just kind of readjusting to learning online, submitting all these final pieces of coursework in May, and finally being finished with the year. So yeah, probably not the ideal ending, but what can you do? But moving on from that, that's my second year experience. I wanted to give some tips for when it comes to learning online, because I do know when we start again in September, October, whenever it is, that we will probably have to have still a large amount of classes online. And for first years, if you're going to university, you might have to have a lot of online classes. So some tips that I would have, if you've got like an early morning lecture, do not just roll out of bed and get on the call, because first of all, you haven't fully woken up already. You need to, you know, take the time to just wake up, readjust, have breakfast, and then you'll be able to dedicate your full attention to your lecture. Because if you think about it, on a normal day, if you're going to a lecture normally, you'd wake up, you'd shower, brush your teeth, eat breakfast, whatever it is. You'd have a good solid maybe hour, half an hour before you start trying to digest information. So I'd say try keep that sort of timing as well for these online classes, because you'll learn a lot better that way. Another thing I'd say is try keep some sort of routine throughout the day. This way it kind of feels like you're still, you know, going to uni. Your brain kind of doesn't fall into a lazy pattern of just, you know, staying in bed all day. Obviously, if that's what you want to do and that's what makes you feel good at that time, take the time to yourself, take the time to relax. But I'd highly suggest trying to keep a solid routine so that you don't fall into any unhealthy patterns. That way, when making the transition back into learning in real life and back into going to lectures properly, it won't be that much of a shock to the system, and you'll be able to just make the transition really easily. And my last tip would be to stay hydrated. And this is because you're probably going to be looking at your computer, looking at your screen a lot more than usual. So your brain might not be used to this, but if you stay hydrated, you'll be able to stay concentrated and you won't get as tired. Because I know with myself, whenever I look at the computer screen for too long, I get so tired, I get a headache. But at least this way, if you just have a lot of water, you can reduce the chances of this happening. Keep up with your meals, you know, have your breakfast, lunch, dinner, some snacks, have your fibre day. But yeah, I hope you found this video useful. If you have any questions, definitely make sure you leave them in the comment section down below. And as I said in the beginning, if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you subscribe to the United Students channel so you don't miss any videos. Good luck to any first years watching if you're about to start university in the autumn, and to anyone else going back to university as well. But yeah, I'm gonna go now. I'll see you next time. So bye.